Hey guys, Marsegid here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be looking at the STR Kale that just got her EZA on Global with the other Universe 6 sub-EZAs from the Kefla Extreme Z battle. So she is, of course, full level 10 links, so we're going to be checking her out here. She is very similar to the Caulifla in a lot of ways. She infinitely stacks attack and defense on her super, as well as doing supreme damage, greatly lowers defense. She gets attack and defense 160, plus an additional attack and defense 16% and chance of performing a crit, 6% per Pure Saiyan's or Peppy Gal's ally on the team. So nice bit of crit chance built in, especially if you have the combo of enough Universe Saiyan girl characters. She's going to have a very, very high crit chance. She launches an additional super when there is a Universe Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan's category enemy. She launches an additional super when there are 6 or more Universe 6 allies on the team. And then she gets an additional attack and defense 160 and guards all attacks when there's an ally whose name includes Caulifla in the same turn. So she's one of these units that, unlike the Tech Caulifla, she's not as crazy good outside of the specific events, right? Like Caulifla, it always used to be a case, I mentioned it in her showcase, if you're fighting a Pure Saiyan or Universe Survival Saga enemy, you can bring Caulifla and she would dodge all the time, whereas now post EZA with the right team build, she's still basically dodging all the time anyway. Whereas this Kale, she's more of a tank defensive unit as opposed to like a dodge defensive unit, right? So she wants to be getting as many supers as possible to be stacking that defense, as well as having the Caulifla on rotation for the guard. So by not fighting a Pure Saiyan or Universe Survival Saga enemy, Caulifla can still get that. You know, we did in her showcase, she dodged every single attack, whereas Kale is missing out on an extra additional super, which is a significant amount of like buff to get. So I'm actually going to float you off here. We'll get the the actual Kale and Caulifla together. I was mentioning it a little bit in Caulifla's showcase, but I think the thing that strikes me with this Kale that's going to be the biggest issue for her is that Caulifla works perfectly for Kale's team because she wants to be run with a Kale, so you can run her and the AGL Dokkan Fest together, whereas the STR Kale wants to be run with a Caulifla, but is also a unit that can, you know, grow into with the stacking and the guard, being a very, very good slot 1 tank, but you want the AGL Kales on both rotations, unless you want to do the thing where you float one and transform, like have them both on the same rotation, transform one and then use them as a link partner, which it does work quite well. And then obviously you could have the the Tech Caulifla and STR Kale as a rotation. I think that actually could be really good for some of the more difficult content, so maybe we'll have to try that out. Because then they both get what they need. I mean, the thing is, the Caulifla, the Kale, once she's transformed, she's really only needing the Universe 6 allies. If you're floating like LR Kale and Caulifla, you're going to have those rotations where there's a Caulifla on rotation for her. But realistically, the team needs, I would say, like one more unit that has Caulifla in the name that is really good in order to have, you could basically have it so that every floating unit is a Caulifla, right? You've got the LR. There's the Tech Kale and Caulifla that fuse into Kefla. I'm definitely interested to see what like their EZA is going to look like in the future. But you can see here, after a couple of supers, we are getting the support from Champa. We're already up to 412k defense. Unfortunately, because Frieza is basically almost dead, we're not going to get our guaranteed additional super to get an extra stack here. So she's up to 5 mil. It's kind of funny to think that, like, in a lot of ways, she is just very inferior to Caulifla, because they're doing similar attack stats for their first few turns, because their stats are largely the same. But of course, Kale is defending based on how well she can tank, like how much she can build up her defense, hopefully having that guard active by having a Caulifla on rotation with her. But like big hard hitting bosses, especially bosses that can hit hard early on, would definitely still be an issue for her, especially in slot 1. Whereas for Caulifla, they obviously won't, because with the right team build, they can't touch her anyway. So I think for this STR Kale, we're going to do some videos. I already mentioned it in the Caulifla showcase and when I did Kefla, when the EZA came out on the private server and everything. We're going to do different videos, taking a look at what Kale's team kind of looks like now. But I'm trying to think about the best way to run that team, because You probably do ideally want both the Kales to transform just because they are better post-transformation, which means you don't want to have the thing where you're running them both on the same turn. So for this STR Kale, it almost kind of feels like she's going to end up being a good unit to be in like slot 3 and just float on the team, which is interesting because she doesn't provide any support, but she'll just be a unit that will be really solid at tanking because both rotations will have a Caulifla on them, depending on how you're running them, which will give her the stats that she needs, like the extra buff and the guard and all of that stuff, every rotation that she's on. The only problem with that, of course, is that when you're floating units that are stackers, obviously they're on less turns, so they get less stacks. So they're not going to build up to as crazy numbers, they're not going to look as good. And again, unlike Caulifla, who, even if Caulifla didn't stack very fast and had low defense and low attack stats, she's going to dodge everything. Whereas if this Kale doesn't get to stack very much because she's floating, she will have guard, but she's defending based on her defense. So not getting as many stacks is actually, you know, very detrimental for her. So let's see. Do you get any extra links from the other Kale? You don't. So start of turn now, we're at 589. So we can go ahead and we might as well do this, right? There's no reason why to let Kale take extra hits in slot 1 when she doesn't have to. So we'll go ahead and do this, and then let's see what kind of attack stats we can get here. This is the like dream combo, right? Like these two together, because Kale is an extra Peppy Gal on the team from the build when I did the Caulifla showcase. Caulifla now just has a 100% chance to dodge. So there she is, 6 million and then 7 million. And then we've got STR Kale is going to get 3 supers minimum, right? So 8.1. We get the first super off here. Then we get the additional super because we have a full Universe 16. And then, oh no, it's guard that she gets from the Caulifla, isn't it, in the attack buff. But there's the hidden potential as well. So yeah, big crits all around. 3 supers, so 3 more stacks. Obviously guard, so we're tanking everything for double digits. Because I think the big problem with her is any of these events where the bosses hit really hard straight away, only getting a couple of stacks, guard isn't going to be enough for her to be able to tank those big supers, whereas Caulifla will just dodge them. So she's an interesting unit, but I think because the Dokkan Fest is Kale, and of course the STR Kale wants a Caulifla on rotation. Like if this AGL Kale Dokkan Fest was the exact same unit, but it was a Kale and Caulifla, then I think STR Kale would be in as strong a position as the Tech Caulifla is. But unfortunately, because she's not, then obviously she's not in anywhere near as strong a position, because you want a Caulifla with her on rotation. I mean, if you're against like a physical boss, it won't matter as much, obviously, if she doesn't have guard. But I think, like I said, one of the best uses I could probably see for her is going to be floating on the Kale team. Which, I mean, once we've checked out all the sub EZAs, we'll have a better idea of which ones are going to be the most valuable for the team. I mean, Tech Caulifla's probably number 1, right? But Vados and Hit both look really interesting. Kefla, of course, is really good. I was going to say, like, I wonder if STR Kale would make the team for the best build for Kale's team. But that being said, outside of all these new EZAs that came out today, a lot of the rest of the team is not great. Like, even LR Kale and Caulifla can be pretty bad in some of the more difficult content. Like, if they don't dodge this, we die. There you go. So now, fortunately, they do, of course, build up defense and dodge chance. But yeah, I mean, you saw from the extra damage they took, because I think this Freezer raises his attack for the duration of the turn, right? So he hit them pretty hard there. But we are able to survive. And then, of course, that brings us back to the good old Tech Caulifla and STR Kale rotation. I mean, this rotation was great when they came out. It's great now. It's just unfortunate that on Kale's team, you kind of just want to be running Kale actually on the rotation. But so let's go for, grab these for you. So what are we looking like here defense-wise now? You're at 432. You're at 810k now. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. 810k. And remember, if there's a Universe Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan enemy, which there's going to be in a bunch of the anniversary content, then she's getting an extra super. So every single turn, as long as the enemy has enough HP to survive the barrage of attacks, obviously, so she can actually do all of them, she's going to be getting an extra super every single turn, which means an extra stack as well. So definitely not too shabby. Caulifla, of course, you know, holding it down in slot 1 here, still putting out decent numbers for attack, whilst also being completely invincible, basically. And then, yeah, STR Kale 7.6. I mean, like, the attack numbers that they put out aren't the craziest, but they just serve a very important role on the team that needed a lot more defense. And then you have units like Kale herself, the AGL one, and STR Kefla, who are there to do all the crazy damage, right? I really want to see her get supered by Frieza, but I don't think... Is he going to super again? He didn't super again. All right, well, Kefla is going to finish off Frieza here. So, STR Kale, in summary, definitely very, very good. But for all the reasons I kind of explained throughout the video, I feel like she doesn't have as much value on the team as Caulifla does. And that's solely down to the fact that they need each other on rotation to be at their full power. And for Caulifla, that's fine, because the Dokkan Fest and the leader of the team is Kale. And of course, any units that are Kale and Caulifla, and then even the STR Kale herself, all fit that bill. Whereas for the STR Kale, she needs a Caulifla. And when we look at the units on the Dokkan Fest Kale team, it is literally going to be Tech Caulifla and then LR Kale and Caulifla. And there are some events where you could probably still get away with running Tech Kale and Caulifla, but not really. So yeah, definitely not as high stonks for her as there is for Tech Caulifla. But, you know, she's still very good. Like the Caulifla, not a super impressive sticker effect. I don't think any of the Universe 6 sub EZA ones are that great. The Vados one's kind of cool because she has a key sphere, but obviously we'll look at that when we do her showcase. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. For her hidden potential build, like I say, with the other ones, I never gave any of these guys skill orbs. I probably would go for, now that she has a lot of crit built in her hidden potential, I probably would change some of that crit to additional and then make her skill orbs mostly additional, because you want to be getting as many supers as possible with these units that stack. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.